right, well, we're going to get started. First of all, we want to thank our sponsors that are here. It's because of our sponsors that we're able to put this on. And we are looking for additional sponsors. So if you do business with a company out there that does a great job serving seniors, let them know that this is a wonderful thing to support. Free community education, no selling, and it's just, I think, a really great thing for sponsors to be involved in. And sometimes they think they're here to convert business, and what I'm trying to let them know is that's not what we're about. It's about being part of the community and inviting other seniors that they know to join us. The more people we can get here, the better it works all the way around, so we can keep this going. We want to especially thank Blue Stem Communities. They are out of Newton and Heston. They have an adult day care center in Hutchinson, and I think it's really cool that an organization that's a little farther away is part of our community here. And Comfort and Love Senior Care Homes, Becky Papa's here today. She's our volunteer photographer, and she is owner-operator of Comfort and Love Senior Care Homes. They are just getting ready to open, and it's a fantastic addition to our education partners having them involved. And you're going to hear from some of our other sponsors today. They're participating in the program. And Brian Spear, can you stand up? Come on up here. Brian Spears with Home Health and Hospice, and he's on our board of directors, as is Terry Brooks. Terry Brooks, you want to stand? She's with PBS Kansas. So PBS Kansas has been awesome for helping us get our topics on air and making it available to more people. Randy, can you click several slides ahead to the cigar dinner, please? So, tell them what you used to do in your former career.
My previous life, huh? Yeah. So before I got into senior care, I was a boutique cigar broker. So all that means, it was a really fancy term, I ran my own company, marketing high-end boutique cigars to retail locations in about 9 different states. 2 of my companies that I represented ended up making me their national sales director. So that's what I did previously.
So we're not necessarily encouraging cigar smoking for you. Okay, he is. And I bet you could even tell him why you think cigar smoking is beneficial to their health.
Yeah. So prior to COVID, the #1 killer in the U.S. is stress and stress-related illnesses and diseases, right? Most cardiologists that have been into school in the last 10 to 15 years, not the old schoolers 20, 30 years ago, but the last about 10 to 15 years have been a lot more studies done on premium tobacco and the stress-reducing abilities of premium tobacco. So, in moderation, everything's always in moderation, right? Red wine's good for you, but only in moderation. If you were to smoke 1 or 2 cigars a week, a lot of new cardiologists would tell you you're still a non-smoker because you're not affecting your lungs, you're just reducing your stress. Therefore, in moderation, it's healthy.
So that's a pretty good pitch for cigars. So you can take it or leave it, but what we are doing for sure is we are inviting the real cigar enthusiasts of Wichita and beyond to come to this amazing first fundraiser that we're doing May 22nd. There's information on our website under events. So spread the word if you know someone that might enjoy an evening like that. It's going to be a world-class event. They're going to be shocked at the people that Brian is going to have there and the things that we're going to have available for that event. We have a local artist building 2 humidors that will be auction items. We have another artist, thanks to Mindy East, that I know is in here. She has an artist friend that's donating a beautiful painting. So it's going to be a fun night, and what we're really trying to do with that is raise money for the programs that we offer, because we have a lot of ideas on how we want to expand the different services that we have. So thank you very much, Brian. All right, Randy, go ahead and back it up. Let's do our Pledge of Allegiance. Do we have a veteran in here that might like to come up and lead? Great, Mary, come on up. Any other veterans that might like to join her up front? We'll have them lead us. Go towards the beginning, Randy. Poor Randy. Randy's my husband, and he and I are realtors, and we started this empowered senior movement because we knew that our real estate clients needed additional help. Everything to do with aging is so overwhelming. And having been a housing professional my entire life, when I started learning about housing for seniors and everything surrounding that topic, I thought, oh my gosh, I can't believe I don't know this. And it's kind of difficult to learn. It's so confusing. And I thought if it's confusing for he and I, it's really confusing for people that aren't in housing and are trying to figure out a lot of things on their own. Good job, you're going in the right direction. So, okay, well, we'll go ahead and, there you go. Thank you, Randy. Woohoo! All right, thank you. If everyone will stand. Mm-hmm. Thank you, and thank you for your service. Okay, Randy, we'll go to the next slide. He thought if he carried in the tables and things that he could just relax up here with his mom. If you would like to, Terry, that'd be great. All right, Terry Brooks is going to come back and do that for you, Randy. Okay. So again, I'm Katherine Ambrose. That's Randy Ambrose. We're realtors. I specialize in helping with seniors. And I'm also a certified downsizing coach to help people go through the process of trying to figure out what to do and how to do it. We have an in-house move management team. Those are the ladies that checked you in this morning. They can help with decluttering and professional organization, packing. They can help you pack and move and unpack and get totally settled in. We have some people that come in from out of town, and we help them unpack, or we help pack up people that are moving out of town. We help coordinate all the details. So that's what we do for our business. All right, Terry, thank you. All right, on our website, empoweredsenior.org, we are adding information on that all the time. So if you dig into that website, you can find blogs and videos and lots of things kind of documenting our history and also pointing you in the direction of things that you might be looking for. This month, in fact, next week, March 16th, if you could go back to that one, thank you. We're trying to figure out the best way to show things on the website so that it's not confusing. The next week, we're doing a bonus seminar, Essential Reasons to Downsize Now, with celebrity author, to me she's a celebrity, Mitzi Beach. She was here to speak at our first year of seminars in 2019. She's been on 2 of the television episodes. She's an expert in lifestyle for those that are 55 plus. And her husband had a real tough go with what seemed like a life-ending event, life-ending illness. And he said, where would you want to live if you lived alone? And she decided that she would move out of state. And she's going to tell the details of that story and what it was like for her as a professional designer. You know, like she would design people's lifestyle, design their homes for them and help them decorate. What it was like for her to downsize, move to Ohio, and what it's been like the last couple of years. So this is a presentation. She named it, and that's what we're going to talk about. It's going to be at the new PBS headquarters. PBS has not moved into this building yet. They're still working and getting it ready, and you get to be some of the first people in the city to see this new PBS station. It's going to be the nicest television station in all of Kansas, and we're going to give you a tour. You come at 10 o'clock next week on March 16th. We're going to have coffee and a tour, and then we'll have a 1-hour presentation. We're giving away 40 free books. Mitzi's book, which is a beautiful book, those are going to be available for the first 40 that RSVP. Okay, so we marked it in yellow to let you know that that is not our regular monthly event, that it is something different, and it's not at Botanic, it's at PBS on the east side of town, K96 and Rock. Thank you, Terry. We'll go to the next slide. All right. Do you know some people that could use a little more fun, a little more social life, connecting with new people, or fun things to do with their current circle of influence or their friends? We think that we see that as something that most everyone could use. So we're taking a survey today. Empowered Senior Social Club might be something that we will help develop. This would be a senior-directed initiative. So we're looking for volunteers that would like to participate in a senior board of directors within our nonprofit to help drive some of the activities and things that you'd like to see us do, including a social club. Does that sound interesting to anyone, a social club where you have opportunities to maybe meet each other for meals and do fun things? If you think that sounds interesting, give us a little information, and we'll gather these surveys today, or you can mail them in. That's our bookkeeper's address. You can mail it to her, and we'll review it, and then we'll see what we can do to get something started. We became a nonprofit in May, and we created our first annual report. It's right here. We put one on each table. If you'd like to have one, you're welcome to it. And if there's more than one person at the table that would like it, there's a few more in the back. It tells you about our history and all the different things that we're doing. All right, well, let's get started with our program. Today we're doing Luck Favors the Bold. And I heard from a couple of you that you can't remember what we were talking about. You know, I like that. You just show up and expect it to be good. So thank you for being here and bringing energy to everyone here. So today we're talking about how can you be a little luckier when it comes to aging well and staying independent. And I like to bring you ideas that aren't the same old that, you know, maybe medical institutions are providing, because you've got access to kind of regular info. So we try to be a little more trendy, a little more cutting edge, and give you some real food for thought. And that's what we're going to do today. In the course of researching who to have speak today, found some really amazing people. And we might have to do this topic again, because there's some really interesting ideas out there on how to age well and feel better, which I think that's a goal for most of us. And I did mention that we would talk about accident-free zone. We cover that a lot, how to age and thrive in place. If you go to the next slide, I'll cover that for just a few minutes, and then we'll get started on nutrition and health. So 90% of homeowners out there would prefer to live in their home forever. 90%, that's a lot. And in order to do that, you might want to incorporate, say, some of Mitzi Beach's ideas, and she'll talk about this next week at that seminar at PBS. Lighting in your home, adding lighting is one of the most important things you can do, having it really bright. Once you pass the age of 50, it's determined that you probably need about 50% more light than you've used in the past. And as we age, there's a lot of things going on with our eyesight and hearing that can cause accidents. Did you know that it's important to be able to hear well to help prevent dementia, and also to help prevent tripping, because your brain is always trying to hear. And even though you might think you're not paying attention to some sounds in the background, your brain is. And when your ears can't hear and make sense of background noise, it just kind of ties up things to where you can have more of a tripping hazard. So hearing is really important. Lighting is very important. Contrast in your home. Mitzi will get into real details on that next week. Removing rugs out of the home, like throw rugs, those are a tripping hazard. And remembering to pick up your feet. So we'll talk more about falls and accidents as time goes on, but I just wanted to remind you of some of those things in the house. Home modifications, that would be like adding lighting, adding handrails, adding safety features to make the home safer. We can do a free evaluation on your home. Either Randy and I can, or we can connect you with a company that does that. There's a lot of people that can come out and do free consults and help advise you on what you can do to be safer in the house. Also, deferred maintenance causes lots of questions. We see seniors spend a lot of money on maintenance items or updates that are way beyond like what we might pay for. Or just live with deferred maintenance items and be kind of in a quandary as to what's worth fixing and what's not worth fixing, what's worth updating and what's not worth updating. So we can do a home walkthrough, a free home walkthrough, and answer your questions, and we'll probably see some things that you hadn't thought of before, but we'll give you an idea of what's smart to do and what maybe isn't smart to do and what kind of budget to plan for to make sure you don't get taken advantage of. Deferred maintenance, so that's like keeping up with your siding and keeping up with things so you don't have flooding under your house or flooding in your basement. So there's a lot of things to talk about, and it's kind of a fun thing for us to do. So Randy and or I can come out and see your home and help you with that. We can also give you a free home evaluation every year too, so that you know what your home is worth in this market and beyond. That's Randy's cell phone number. So you can call our main number, or you can jot down his cell number, or grab him today and let him know what questions you might have. He can probably answer some things for you right on the spot. Okay, next slide. All right, let's have our panelists come on up. We're doing something a little different today. We'll have all four come up, and then each of them have prepared a special presentation. So they're going to stand and give you about a 6-minute presentation. And then after intermission, we will have a group discussion. Thank you. So we have Marty Spence, Dr. Adrian Tartler, who's a chiropractor, and we've had him here before, and people loved him, so thank you for coming back. Ashley has got an amazing story to share, and then Stacia Foley, who has been so kind to us. She made us angel cookies for Christmas a couple of years ago, and she's just done all kinds of things to help our program, so she's got a really great talk prepared today, so I thank you for that. All right, Marty, let's get you started. Come on up.
Thank you, Catherine. Can you all hear me all right? It's an honor to be here with you all this morning, and I am grateful to get to spend time talking about health. It's something near and dear to my heart. Do I have a slideshow coming? Maybe. Hey, that's me. So I am the founder of Songbird Juice Company. I am a mother of 3 little children, a 7-month-old, a 5-year-old, and a 7-year-old. Did I say 5, 7, and 6, 7 months? Also, I am the caregiver for my mother, and that actually came first for me. So it's like I had my mother and then I had my children. So it's a little backwards, but it worked out. I'm going to tell you about it. So Songbird Juice Company is my language of love for my community. I learned how to be a caregiver when my mom had an aneurysm in 2009. She was 50 years old, and I'm an only child, and she and I are like this, she and I. And so nobody else could take care of her, and I didn't want to see her go to a nursing home. So I was like, I'm in. What do I do? So I went and I did CNA school, and I tried to do nursing school, but that wasn't my jam. But I threw myself all in to her care. So in 2009, I became a caregiver for my mom. I was 26 years old. I continued to care for her until I was about 30, 31. And I learned a lot about health. And when she came out of the catastrophe, because her aneurysm created a hemorrhage, several massive strokes, so we had residual that we're dealing with. Whenever she came out of all of that, she was on 16 medications, and I had to manage them. Anybody on meds? I have to ask. Med management as an elder is so complicated. And I didn't know anything about all these medications, and I'm like compounding them, and I'm just giving them to her, and I'm stirring them up, and I don't know. I just felt really uncomfortable with it. And so I started asking a lot of questions and just kind of taking steps back. What are these for? Does she have to be on these medications? What about the symptoms that she's having? Or could these be products of the medications? And so I had an amazing practitioner that out of Andover that she worked with, and she'd had him before her aneurysm, so he was so open-minded. I'm grateful. He had the conversation with me about starting to take her off some of them and looking and studying and seeing what happened, because she was so young. And she had dementia, and she had like excessive weight gain and cholesterol issues and just all these things going on. And I was like, what? And what are we doing? This is a person. But she's on all this stuff. And I feel like we're kind of just controlling her body with all this stuff, and then I'm just the servant to it. So we started dissecting it. I started learning about health. I did this for several years. I got her off all the medications, and she was living a pretty good plateau quality life. We still had some issues. I can't say I took her off all the medications. Let me go back. There were a couple I left her on. And I'll get to that later in the story. But I left her on those, and then I learned a lot about food. Because what I learned with my mother's residuals from her strokes was that she was really reactive to things like sugar. She was easily dehydrated. Her sleep was disrupted, just quality of life stuff. So jumping into her care made me more aware of my own health. And so being her caregiver actually brought me here. So Songbird Juice Company is my labor of love. My mother's diet was something I had to pay special attention to. And so I started learning about foods that would give back to her in her diet, making food that was easy for her in her care, because I was managing her care every day with attendants coming in. And it was just, I didn't want her to gain too much weight because she wasn't as active as she used to be, but I wanted her to get all of her nutrients in, and how do I do that and not cook for her all the time? And so I started creating ways to like blend it up or juice it and be really intentional in my design of her lifestyle. And so learning how to support her health through food and plant medicine and herbal care and supplements became our new journey. And so then I actually had to dismiss myself from her care for a little while. Caregiver fatigue is a real thing. So when I was 31, I had my oldest, and I couldn't be a caregiver by myself anymore. And so I actually let her go live at a nursing home facility here in town. Katherine and I connected this past year on my journey to get her out of that nursing home facility, and I fought very hard to get her back to where we are now, a year and a half later. But her story, again, reminds me of how important it is to treat ourselves as the health insurance policy, and how easy we can redesign our lives to support our health. And so it's not a lot of work, but I'm going to tell you today just some quick things that we can throw in that might help you guys, like it helps her, to have a quality life as you continue to actively age. And maybe things that she learned, you guys will be able to take from. So we'll jump right in. Anyway, Songbird Juice Company is a labor of love. It taught me a lot about health. We didn't have anything like it here. So I made one. And at Songbird Juice Company, we believe in real food. And what does that mean? Real food is stuff that you grow. It's not boxed stuff. It's not preserved stuff. It's not stuff with additives. It's not stuff with refined sugars. It's not bleached. It's not altered. a lot of it is raw. And raw is not a scary word. I don't know when it became a scary word, but somewhere along the way, the FDA stopped liking it. Raw to me means being able to go out and pick a watermelon out of my garden and eat it. That's a raw watermelon. And so we treat food like that. We juice all of our juices, or 2 to 3 pounds of produce in every single bottle, which I'm gonna. We have an intermission today, Catherine. Okay, I have some fun juice samples for you guys if you want to try some fun stuff. Very dense nourishment options. But raw is not a scary word. Raw means you're getting everything intact given to you. So we do raw food. So today when you leave from this space and all of our offerings, I hope that you feel empowered and worthy in caring for your health, because what I've learned in caring for my mother, and now because of her caring for myself, is that every action we take is a chance to tell ourselves that we are worthy of love. It's an action to say, I love you. And if we're not showing up for ourselves first and investing in ourselves first, then we can't possibly serve anybody else, right? I'm sure many of you have learned that lesson already. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. So you're our wise ones. Can I have the next slide, please? So the first thing with my mom's care, I had to go back and look at, like the first time I cared for her, we use more Western med. There's lots of ways to be cared for in this world, and that's the beauty of where we live, is that there's lots of options for care. But the thing is we were always programmed, at least she was, to go Western. And as I was breaking away from this model, I was asking questions that the Western practitioners didn't know the answers to. So I was starting to find more holistic providers, people that were called alternative. These alternative people actually should be primary in our life, but we've got it a little bit backwards. We're going to get it right, though, I think, in this lifetime. We're going to flip it back around. But who knows our body better than we do? We go to doctors, practitioners, some of us once a month, some of us once a year, some of us none. I don't know. It just depends as we age, I'm sure, and the care that we need. But who are we giving power and authority to over our bodies? That's number one. Because some people are making decisions for your body, and they don't live inside of it. So I want you to give yourself permission to allow it to get still inside of your body. And as we kind of go through this, give yourself credit for being the expert that you are inside of your body, because you know you better than I know you, and I trust you to know you. So why do we invest more in our health insurance policies than we do in our day-to-day personal health, though? In 2020, the national health expenditure was nearly 10%, which was accounting for $4 trillion, almost $13,000 a person. I don't think I spent $13,000 on fruits and vegetables in 1 year. Did you? So I'm wondering, like, where we're putting our money at. I didn't put money on gyms. I know I didn't go to yoga that much. You didn't see me. Yeah. There's no way I spent 13 grand on myself. So if they're accounting for that, like, shouldn't we be kind of accounting for that, or maybe reallocating the dollars a little bit to support our health? So I look at that number and I see responsibility. I'm like, oh, whoa. If that's what I'm worth, that's what they think I'm worth, I probably should treat myself like I'm worth that. So primary care versus emergent care, that's something that we started to redefine in our house. We started looking at that and going, what is emergent? If I break my arm, I probably don't want to get 2 sticks and put it back together. So that's an emergency. We're going to go to the emergency room for that. But if it's a cough, cold, congestion, we're going to try to treat that with herb care. We're going to try to do some other things first before we run to the emergency room. So that's how we take accountability for that. So we started taking an inventory in our house, even my mom, of what is emergent. Because I joke, I'm like, Mom, did you get your 12 t-shirt yet? Because you've been in the emergency room so many times this past year that, it's kind of, I'm not sure what's an emergency and what's not anymore. And it wasn't that she wasn't having ailments. It was that everything became a catastrophe. And so when we started just settling down and just taking it ailment by ailment and like symptoms and pulling things apart and taking time and space with it, we realized that we were treating everything like emergency care. And we weren't giving it enough space to just sit and be primary. So that was a big step for her. Giving ourselves to allow other things other than chemical compounds to be medicine. That was a big step for her interventions. And then I already talked about the Western versus alternative backwardness, but I think it's really, really important that we look at what we're reaching to for our health support. So, can I have the next slide, please? Everyone loves cute kids. That's my son, and we are the insurance policy. You guys are the insurance policy. You guys are worthy of every dollar spent to support your health. And you're not worthy of being thrown away. Nursing homes shouldn't be the end game. So I got my mom out of the nursing home this past year. Katherine and I reconnected. And she nearly died there. And the stories she tells about that nursing home now, I don't know people that come out of those spaces. Do you? I don't hear them tell stories, so it's really new for me. But I know that's not where I want anyone to go. Nobody deserves to be in a nursing home in the end. And so if I can help support your health in any way, I sure will. So I can keep my wise people in their communities where they belong. And so my mom is part of a program that brings her home, and that's something also that I would, if anyone has any questions about how I brought her home so many times, there is money out there that can keep you in your homes. And they can give you support, and these workers are also people that could live in your community and just help you. So I just want to put that out there. But using resources to bring her back home, we did that, and we've reestablished her back into the community. She was on 11 meds this time when we got her out. But she was almost so far gone that the emergency room practitioner called me in tears and said, "You cannot send her back to this place." I won't get into the nitty-gritty details, but the bottom line is this. This time I was like really sold on the medicine. Like the first time I saw it work, the first time I saw her plateau, she had a good quality life. We went to the nursing home. She stayed there for 5-6 years. I had babies, I had business, I did things, I went and visited. I just got her out this last year and we did it again. We did it again in 1 year. She was on 11 medications. She's now off of all medications. She's lost 60 pounds, and she is living independently in her home with the care of people that come and take care of her 3 to 4 hours a day. I pinch myself every day and go, is this real? It is absolutely real. Our health starts in our bodies. And so most people are deficient in lots of things. And you would have to ask for some sort of a panel from your practitioner to know what those deficiencies are, and to even go further with it, you'd have to ask for very specific panels to find out if your hormones are calibrated correctly, if your vitamin levels are correct. Many of us get blood panels, but we need to go deeper than that on our nourishment. So just real quick, when we're going through our body, we do a quick head-to-toe healthcare assessment. These are the basic line items that we tend to be most deficient in. And I could say that this is specific to active agers or people in certain age ranges, but the truth is all of us are really deficient in these things. And while it increases in deficiency in our age, in our older years, I think that this is relevant information to all of us. So feel free to tell your grandkids also. This is important stuff. So vitamin D. Vitamin D is our bone health, our immunity, and our blood sugar. Vitamin D is something that most of us are deficient in. I was so severely depleted that I was dangerously depleted. So I was caring for my mom. I was owner of a juice bar. and I was dangerously depleted in vitamin D. I actually have had migraines since I was 12. I was told I should have been on disability whenever I was 19, that I'd probably never be able to work. It'd be really hard. And they were right, it was really hard to punch a clock and to take the medications and to live the life like that. But now at 39 years old, 3 years ago, I started to wake up and do the exact same thing that I was telling my mom to do, because caregivers don't always do what we're supposed to do. We just tell people what they're supposed to do. So I did that, and I started to get better. And so now at 39, I actually don't have migraines anymore. My mom has dementia, and she has a hard time understanding that, because she's still like, were you sick today, honey? I'm like, no, I don't have those anymore. And she's like, what? So it's really cool. I actually got better because she got better. And then the juice company, again, is just this amazing thing that keeps being accessible for me to access medicine just like the community does. So, and my mom now lives 4 houses away from the juice company. That also is a really fun twist in the story. So this place gets to support her health. Okay, going back, vitamin D, bone health, immunity, blood sugar. Vitamin D is in the sunshine. How do we get vitamin D? We absorb it from the sun. We have to go out in it and sit in it. There's some foods we can, but most of us have leaky gut. So if you're on medications at all, there's a good chance you got a leaky gut, because your body can't actually absorb all the things. You have to have good fats in your diet to be able to bind to vitamin A, B, E, and K. Is that right? So you've got 4 fat-soluble vitamins that if you don't have enough fat in your body to grab onto them, they won't even stay, they just slip. And that's what leaky gut really is. It just slips right through. And so a lot of us have that. We're just products of our environment. So the quickest way you can do it is through cutaneous absorption, so just get out in the sun. Vitamin B, that's another one that we can be dangerously depleted in and not even know it, and that's B12 is responsible for our thoughts. So if the memory, Catherine, you were talking about memory earlier and how hearing can affect dementia. All this stuff, we're just a chain link fence. And so if any of those is broken, we have to go back in and fix one of those. Protein, omega-3 and fatty acids, fiber, and hydration. These are really basic, but how many of us are depleted? Can you go down that list and go, I'm like 4 of those right now, I bet you. I could use some water. So, quick redesign. Simple lifestyle upgrades that can change the quality of the body that you are living in right now. It doesn't have to be that hard. It can just be quick, like swippy swaps. I don't want to ruin my mom's life by being like, you can't ever have sugar again. Sorry about yous. That would be so mean. I want her to have a quality life. So we've gone in and redesigned her life so that she gets to enjoy it and also gets benefit from the foods and the activities that she's partaking in. And so reducing refined sugars. Number 1, reducing refined sugars. If you use a bleached sugar at all, just get rid of it. Find something else. We are in a cool era where there's so many things that are accessible. Local honey, agave, coconut sugars. Always pick raw over pasteurized, but if you can get local honey from a farm, we have some down at the shop that we sell. There's little pop shops all over that have local brands. Go for that first. I talked about gathering your sunshine. Get it early in the day and at dusk. That's when the less dangerous levels are. Incorporate some low-impact activities like stretching and walks daily. I'm sure Adrienne will talk a little bit about that. Keeping your environment and your stimuli stress-free. Talked about those good fats, helping us hold on to the A, D, E, and K. Good fats look like butter, cream, salmon, like if you guys are good fats. Like I don't think you guys probably reach for it as much as my generation reaches for trans fat, but did anybody know that we are actually in Wichita, Kansas, one of the fast food testing sites in the United States? You guys, everyone's like, light bulb moment. It's mean, but they do that. And I'm a juice company. Oh, Sure. They love donuts and carbs around here. So just reaching for healthy stuff. Probiotics, healthy gut flora promotion. I don't know if you guys have heard about like kombucha. That's kind of the local rave right now. But there's lots of ways to get our probiotics. But if you can get them from like sauerkraut or kefir, there's other ways to get it other than just taking a pill for it. So I always promote grabbing for the food or the real thing first. If you can get it from that, then if you take it from a pill, you're not going to absorb as much from it. You just won't. So chemical compounds versus plant and fungus support. I want to throw in here because also all the rage right now is mushrooms. And I'm not just talking about the magic kind. I'm talking about things like lion's mane mushroom and chaga and reishi and cordyceps, some of these that are responsible for regrowing mycelium in your brain space because they're the same ones that are growing it under the trees. And so we can actually reconnect some of our own dots by just taking some of these supplements or finding ways to get them into our diet. I know there's growers at the farmers market at the end of the year that actually have these raw mushrooms. So anyway, to wrap it up, I talked too much. I'm so sorry. I love you guys, and I really want you guys to be well. But dense nourishment options are the best way to go. So if you can reach for something raw, if you can reach for something dense. Our juices, I said, have 2 to 3 pounds of produce. I wasn't really here to pitch them, but I do believe in them. I think that if you can get something easy and in a short amount of time, then that's going to benefit you better than anything else. So that's what I have about that. But come see us at Songbird Juice Company. We're over at Briggs and Porter. I'm here to answer questions and do samplings. And thank you for letting me talk as long as I did. But you're worthy.
So I invited Marty to be kind of a featured speaker and speak a little bit longer today and also support her small business. And I think it's so interesting, the story of her mother, that she was in, when people think of a nursing home, they think of a certain place and quality of life. And that's what kind of nursing home she was in. So being able to get her out of there and moved into a home here in Riverside is quite an accomplishment, and I commend you for everything that you did to make that happen. It was quite a journey. And I have one question for you. So if there's 2.5 pounds of vegetables and fruits in one container of juice, and you do that from cold pressing, but what does 2.5 pounds of produce look like? Paint us a picture.
2.5 pounds of produce. So in one bottle of Shine, it's a pineapple, an entire pineapple, an apple and a half, a whole handful of mint. That's in one bottle of our Shine. In Harmony, it's an entire 1 pound bag of carrots that's pressed into that single bottle. And so I think we talked about this morning, because sometimes I just have so much information I want to give you, and I try to put it out on an outline, and but statistically, in 2020, there was data that came out on adult Kansans, that said that adults weren't getting a single fruit or vegetable. It was like 70%, 72% of adults in Kansas weren't getting a single fruit or vegetable every day, any day. And I was like, well, do French fries count? So 2 to 3 pounds of produce in every bottle looks like probably 3 to 4 servings of your daily fruits and vegetables from a single juice. Yeah. And I want to be very clear, like, I love to empower people too. So if you have an old dusty juicer on your counter and you're like, I'll juice, I'll teach you how to juice. I love that people can get their nourishment from real food first. I think that's where we should be getting it.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Marty. Have a seat, because we're going to have a discussion towards the end. So how many of you eat an entire bag of carrots every day? Something to think about. Okay. Ashley, you're up next. All right, so we're going to try to do like 3 to 6 minutes apiece. So we'll kind of move through the slides pretty quick, and then after intermission, we will do Q&A. So write down the questions that you have. Ashley's got a great story to tell you.
Hello, good morning. I am Ashley Herring. I am the owner of Zen RX located in College Hill. Today I'm going to share 2 stories with you. The best one is going to be about my friends and clients here, Bob and Mary. But before I start with theirs, I should tell you a little bit about mine. Next slide, please. Next slide after that. Nope, before that. Oh, wait, no, that's the one, sorry. I am 37 years old. When I was 26 years old, I had just finished doing Wichita's Biggest Loser. Maybe some of you saw me on TV at that time. And after that ended, I went back to teaching CrossFit at a gym downtown. And Memorial Weekend that year, I was on my way home, and I was hit by a truck on my bicycle. It seems like it was rather devastating, but at the moment, my fight or flight had kicked in. I looked down at my leg, and I had his paint from the truck on my leg, but I wasn't bleeding or broken, and so as you can imagine, I was a little upset, so I kind of yelled at him a little bit. I had the right of way, and then I went ahead and just went home. I rode my bike all the way home, told my roommate, had some friends over that night for dinner. I went to bed, and when I woke up, I could not sit up. I could not roll over. I couldn't do anything, so I started basically screaming for my roommate. His bedroom was above mine. And he comes downstairs, and within about 15 minutes, I was able to kind of slide off. Well, as a personal trainer, not being able to move is pretty devastating. So over the next 3 weeks, I'm pretty stubborn. Again, I was 26 and very athletic, and I was like, I'm going to be fine. You know, it's just leftovers. So after 3 weeks, I finally went and saw my chiropractor, and he came back with my x-ray, and my spine was in 3 different directions. And I looked at him, the look of shock on my face. I said, "Is that my back?" He looks at me and he says, "Yeah, Ash, I don't even know how you walked in here." He basically told me that me being in the shape that I was in saved my life that day, or at least kept me from being paralyzed. So I went ahead and I continued with my treatment with him. I felt better. There's a lot of reasons why people stop going to see their chiropractor. And as a trainer, and I did my own rehab, and I thought I was fine. So a year later, I'm a little clumsy unless I'm at the gym, and I fell down some stairs. And so I went to a client of mine who was a chiropractor, and he said he'd give me an x-ray. And in that x-ray, it showed that my left leg was 7 millimeters shorter than the other one. Doesn't seem like very much, but when our body is not symmetrical, then all sorts of snowball things tend to go wrong, not just musculoskeletally, but also inside of our brain. So with that, I'd been asking God what made me so unique as a trainer, because anybody can be a trainer and write weight loss programs and workouts, but I really wanted to be different. Well, God gave me my answer that day I got hit, and that moment changed my career forever. So fast forward over the next 11 years, I have had multiple certifications in movement, ancestral nutrition, ancestral movement, kinesiology, and now neurology. I am a movement neurologist, and it's pretty amazing. There's only 1,000 of us in the entire country, so it's a pretty unique approach to fitness, lifestyle, and longevity. Let's go ahead and move to the next slide, please. So now I want to tell you about Mary. This is Mary. And when she started, she couldn't even get on the floor. When she started with me, she had broken the same shoulder twice. She calls it her bionic shoulder. Very, very poor coordination, trouble balancing, poor hearing and vision. Driving privileges had been revoked. Her kids moved in with her and her husband, and in a sad way, kind of waiting just for them to pass on. And they did everything for them. So when she came to me, some clients that I'd had, still have for about 6 years, they were good friends with her, and asked me, "Do you think you can help my friend Mary?" Kind of told me about her situation, and I said, "Well, I believe so. Go ahead and let's bring her in." So they committed to driving her to me twice a week while they were there for their sessions as well. When she came, she was on a walker. She was almost blind. She couldn't hear basically at all. She had such threats in her body from falling. After she retired, she just kept falling, and that's how she broke her shoulder, that she would literally do this. She was so afraid to walk. So it took about 6 months. But after 6 months, well, I guess I'm going to tell you a couple other things. That's the next slide. Yes. So how did she get here? After she retired, she and her husband, they would go on regular walks around their beautiful home in College Hill, but on both of their walkers, and their kids were with them. They basically both stopped moving. They would sit around and play card games on their iPad. And one of her goals when she came to me, she of course wanted to drive. I mean, no one really wants to lose their driving privileges. But the biggest thing was that she just wanted to feed her birds. She wanted to be able to pick up the bird seed and feed her birds. And I thought, that can't be that hard. And then as she kept growing, she kept giving me more of these things that she wanted to do. So what had happened when she had told me about some of these things that she was going through, she couldn't hear, she was going blind, and she couldn't hardly walk because she was so afraid to fall down. Those 3 things were very crucial to a lot of what's called the neural hierarchy. So when she got here, a lot of these threats, when your peripheral vision starts to decrease, and in the elder community, the vertical peripheral vision is typically how they tend to fall. Everything outside of this box, I call it the umpire box, is a threat. Your brain loves predictability. Your brain loves pattern recognition. It does love new experiences, but those experiences have to be repeated in order for it to be something that it enjoys, right? So threats in your brain can show up as fatigue, pain, dizziness, headaches, nausea, immobility, tension, inflexibility, weakness, and the list goes on and on and on. Those are some of the biggest ones. So the neurohierarchy is made up of your vision, your vestibular. Vestibular is in your ear, and it is the sole responsibility for your balance. So hearing is affected by that. If you have weak hearing, that means you have a weak inner ear. It means the fluid that once was in your ear that could sense motion is either as crystallized or is diminished completely. And then proprioception, that is just it's basically touch, right? So any type of touch, rubbing, things like that. So when someone comes to me and they tell me they have some of these things, my first thing is to approach that neurohierarchy. How can I reduce the threat that your brain is telling you that you have? So, can we go to the next one real quick and come back to this one? So, with Mary's story, within 6 months, I had Mary not only off of her walker, she also started driving again. She got her driving privileges back. She went to see her eye doctor. Her vision had improved immensely. She no longer had what was called convergence. She had vergence. When she came, she had her left eye pointed up and her right eye pointed down. She was losing her vision very quickly. Now her eyes look straight on. She can drive. And after that, also her children moved out. That was one of the best days that she's had in a very long time. And trust me, she'd tell you her relationship with her daughter was strained because her daughter, she started being able to cook again and clean again. She started being able to do things she hadn't done. Her and her husband would go walking around, and I'll get to him in just a second, and that bird seed thing, I set it up in the gym, the distance in her garage, how high up did she want that bird seed to go, the wheelbarrow. We set all that up in the gym, and we did that over and over and over again until it was no longer a threat, and she could go do that without me. And I just thought that was amazing. You can create things that are threats and make them and reduce that threat so that they feel safe. And the joke that my husband and I have is that, she went from not driving, and my gym is on Douglas, by the way, and she parallel parks right on Douglas. And I'm like, people our age don't even like to do that. So her journey has just been absolutely amazing. Her hearing is better. And the one thing about that is when you start to lose your balance, your brain's job is to survive. And so it doesn't care how old you are. It cares about all the threats. It's moment to moment. Is this safe? Is this safe? Is this safe? And as I made all those after I made all those things much safer in her life, her joy her memory came back. She was telling me things that she couldn't remember when she started, that one day she was like, oh, I know what happened when I was 6 years old. Well, she's 90. She couldn't remember what happened until we started doing some of these things, and I brought a lot of her memory back. And again, like I said, her kids moved out. They live down the street so that they're close. But yeah, so, and then the best part, one day she came in and she was crying. And I said, well, what's going on, Mary? She said, well, Bob has basically just given up. He won't get out of bed. He won't go on a walk. He won't even play his card game on his computer. And she was very sad. They've been together since they were 15 and 17 years old, and that's a long time, isn't it? So I told her, I said I offered to get them grounding, which means you go outside and you get the conductivity from the ground. But there's a mat version that I had her order. I said, try this. After 3 weeks, not only was he up and moving, then he also started coming to the gym so that he could get better. Now he goes outside every day, even in the cold. He puts his bare feet on the ground. He also feeds the birds. And they sit around, they listen to music and play games, something that they hadn't done in 20-something years. I don't even remember, but it was a long time. So anyway, so yeah, Bob comes now. He's 92, and he's doing really, really well. Okay, can we go back to the past slide? And so there's a lot of things that when people tend to, it's usually when people retire that they tend to, if you're not traveling and you're not socializing, and we know what COVID did. It wanted us to not go out. It wanted us to sit around, get no sunshine, don't socialize, don't do this and don't do that. And so what that did is that actually had a very big detrimental effect on not just anyone who is a senior, but people who are young. We're watching what our teens are going through right now. But, so one way to be able to start doing this is, one, show up to events like this. You're out, you're here, you're not really socializing, but you're listening. You can join a book club, learn a new language. The brain loves that stuff. There's so much space in our brain that we have not even begun to dive into yet. We really don't know the capabilities of what our brain can do. And what I do now, this is actually still relatively pretty new to science. This is called a neurocentric approach for longevity, health, wellness, and lifestyle. So socialize, hire a personal trainer. Mary told me that she didn't like going to the big box gyms because they don't really treat, as she called, silver sneakers very well. So I'm glad she joined me, because I do know for sure she would have never gotten what she got out of a gym that she gets with me. People just aren't treated that well unless it's individual. So anyway, I would like to thank you so much for having me here today. This has been such an honor. And whatever questions you have, I would love to stay and answer those questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just realizing how aptly named our event is today. Luck favors the bold. And you have to be kind of bold to think about personal training, and bold to think about eating an entire bag of carrots worth of juice and other things, or learning how to juice and do different things. So, and sounds like some of the people are getting lucky because they are being bold and taking that kind of action. So Stacia, we've heard a little bit about caregiving. Come on up. And stress. And so coming from the medical industry, we'd like for you to share some good information that we all could benefit from. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. How many people in here have stress every day? Oh, come on. Raise your hands high. Everybody. You're all lying if you don't say you don't. Please, next slide, please. So self-care. I want to talk a little bit about self-care and stress as a combination. So there's 3 key elements for self-care, and one of them is hope, a feeling or expectation and desire for a certain outcome, strength, which is the state of being strong, endurance, the power to resist force, and healing, the process of getting well. Next slide, please. So today I want to tell you a few tips and some reasons why stress is really not good for us. The first one I want to kind of talk about is personal barriers that we all have every day. And sometimes we don't realize that they're barriers and that they're causing us stress, right? So first one is just a question you might ask yourself. And if you answer any of these questions like yes, you will raise your hand higher when I ask you if you have stress later. Do you think it's being selfish if you put your needs first? Is it frightening to think of your own needs, and what is that fear all about? Do you have trouble asking for what you need? Do you feel you have to prove that you are worthy of someone that you're caring for, that recipient love back? Do you do too much as a result? Next slide, please. And so if you answered any of those yes, how many people now think they have stress? Everybody, come on. So reducing stress, one way is to not overextend yourself, and I think a lot of us are guilty of that, right? Anybody guilty of overextending themselves? Avoid isolating yourself, and you guys that are here probably don't have that problem as much as maybe you have a neighbor that might be isolating. And so next time we have a senior series, ask them to come with you, those people that are isolating. Focus on projects that will bring you joy. Be tolerant of your limits. That's a hard one sometimes. I think a lot of us feel like we can just do everything, right? Prioritize what needs to be done and what can wait. How many of us do not prioritize, or we procrastinate? That's a big one. And then just let life happen. Stop trying to figure it all out. That's easier said than done, right? Yeah. Next slide, please. So this one has a lot of information on it, and I'm not going to go all the way through it, but just to briefly tell you, one of the biggest things, which is on the bottom, I probably should have moved it to the top, is getting enough sleep. And I know we do need to work on that as a society. I think in general, we are very, very busy. We have electronic devices, we have the TV, we have each other. Lots of things where we can't just disconnect from everything and get some really good sleep. And so the National Sleep Foundation states that sleep actually triggers changes in your brain. We were talking earlier about brain health that really solidify your memory and strengths connections between brain cells while helping short-term and your long-term memory. So if you're not getting enough sleep, let's say you're getting 3 hours or 4 hours of sleep and it's interrupted sleep, is that really good for you? Probably not. So going back up to the top, combating stress, again, here's some other ideas that I put together for you. Seek out social interaction, we talked about that. Regularly engage in social activities, which you guys are already doing. But again, I'm gonna reach out to you guys, look for a neighbor or a loved one and bring them with you to events, especially if you see that they're socially isolating. Find out what activities are being held in your community, whether it's just a regular community outing like the cigar thing coming up, which sounds kind of fun, or if it's a religious group, if you feel like you're more spiritual and you want to do something with your church. I know there are a lot of other great things that men and women can do separately, like the Red Hat Society, or guys sometimes have the Legion, or some women go to the Legion too, but lots of different things you can do in the community. Maintain your connections, so write a letter. I know letter writing is kind of something that we used to do a long time ago, and I know the price of stamps is higher, but I love to get letters. I think it's awesome, and if I could write more letters, I would probably be more productive, and I'd probably have more of my loved ones reaching back out to me. And so maybe today think of someone you could write a letter to. Play solitaire if you need to do some brain games. That's another way to kind of get your brain in gear. Join a group. I know maybe some people in here are members of different types of groups, whether they're philanthropic or they're card games or whatever. And next slide, please. So biggest thing here is take responsibility or accountability for your self-care, especially if you are a care provider. or if you're taking care of somebody, you know, in your home, or you're going to visit somebody. You basically can't stop the impact of what a disease is going to do somebody. It's going to do what it's going to do, right? We have to kind of let that go. But there's a great deal you can take responsibility for yourself, right? Consider that person's abilities or interests. Maybe get them, if it's somebody that you know you're caring for and they were a carpenter, maybe bring something with you when you do that visit that they can hammer away at. Whether it seems very rudimentary and elementary to say to do that, but oftentimes we can, our brain is very affected by what we don't do, and so bring some interest to them. Resist asking the same person to help you repeatedly. How many times do we reach out to the same person and ask for help, if we are asking for help? Same person, and they always help us. There's tons of other people I know that would probably help us if we asked. And they're probably waiting for us to ask, right? Prepare a list of things that need to be done, so don't procrastinate. And be prepared for hesitance or refusal. If you ask a person to help you do something, be prepared they may say no. And then what will you do? Then you have to ask that other person, right? Avoid weakening your request. So sometimes we try to ask people to help us, and then we're like, oh, it's okay, I got it. God bless you. So be strong. If you need help, ask for help. Next slide, please. A lot of us do have fear or fight in our bodies. I mean, we all kind of do. And so ask yourself a few of these questions. Who are your support systems? And I know a couple of you already touched on these, whether your support system is your community, your church, your family. You know, ask yourself what that person, who those people are. Faith, if you have faith, that practice always empowers us, doesn't it? It empowers us to be strong and to do things every single day. It helps me get out of bed some days. Gratitude. So today, think of one thing that you're grateful for, and just kind of focus on what it is that you're grateful for. We have so much negativity, don't we, in the world right now? So think about gratitude. Routine. If you have a routine every day, is it easier to do things during your day? Yes? So maintain your rhythm and routine for each day. Find a way to help others. And again, writing letters, phone calls, emails, any of those things. If you're somebody here that has emotions that get really intense, or you get angry very easily, what might be causing that? Does anybody know? Pain. Yes, pain. What else? I'm sorry? Stress. Yeah, so if you have, your emotions are kind of just willy-nilly and just off the wall, or you're with somebody that's happening to, take a break, take a deep breath, and then you might need to change some of the things you're doing. If it's a caregiver situation, you may want to change that a little bit, and I can answer questions about that and give you some examples later. You could be grieving or have a loss that you have been dealing with, and it's just coming out as anger. You are experiencing stress, that's right, and that you need to be assertive and ask for what you need. Again, oftentimes we are busy or we need to do things and we don't ask for help. Next slide, please. So, just in summary of making sure that you are free from stress or having less stress, because I know we all can't just be totally free from stress. That's kind of impossible. But you yourself, you're the only one that's responsible for your self-care. Learn and practice some of the self-care techniques. There are many out there, and several of the panelists can give you examples of that as well. Attend to your own healthcare needs. Make an appointment with your physician, whether it's a specialist, an eye doctor, foot doctor, whoever it is. If you're putting it off, stop it. Get proper rest and nutrition. Exercise regularly. Take time off without feeling guilty. Even if you're not like actively in a job, we all have jobs every day. You know, either we're a spouse or we're grandparents or we work at a job. But take time for just you, especially if you're a caregiver. Participate in pleasant, nurturing activities. And I can think of a few of those. Seek and accept the support of others. Identify and acknowledge your feelings. And you do have a right to have feelings. Don't stuff your feelings. Change the negative ways that you view situations. Next slide, please. Thank you.
A lot of food for thought there, and I was thinking in my own head when people might lash out or just have stressful emotions, can be low blood sugar. Exercise can help correct how you're feeling. It can make all the difference in the world. So let's have Dr. Tartler up here to tell us a little bit more about that. All right. And for intermission, because we're running a little late, feel free to run to the restroom if you'd like to. We'll have you serving juice back there, maybe while Adrian talks. And then Adrian's also going to do some movement with us for those that would like to. Otherwise, you can just observe. Don't leave. We're not going to make you do it. But if you want to do some movement, I think that that would be a good thing to do. Okay.
Thank you. All right, I have no slides. I'm a guy. Less stuff. So what I actually would like you to do is I'd like you to close your eyes for a moment, and we're going to do a little visualization, right? So I'm a very kinesthetically oriented person. I think experience is really powerful. And so just take a moment. So there's been a lot of information that's been shared today. So in my yoga training programs and in my transformational healing programs, I do this exercise a lot. So I want you just to kind of close your eyes and imagine a big circle right in front of you. And along the edge of that circle are all the different experiences that you've had in your lives. And these are, pains, losses, hurts, joys, breakthroughs, right? All of the experiences that we have, right? And they just get lined up along the circumference of the circle. And so when it comes to, say, some of those areas that are painful that we don't want to, like, look at, they just are there, right? And the beauty of our body is that our bodies are designed to survive, okay? They're not designed to just be well. They're designed to survive, and the survival mechanism is very strong. And so the energy in your body is being used all the time to handle all of those little experiences that are on the circumference of this circle, right? And so you have this moment where you're literally going through life, and the energy that you have is being used to take care of all these things. So as we age, as we get older, right, what has happened is we've just accumulated so many more experiences along the circle that the body is using energy for to take care of, for survival. And so when, you're 58 like I am, and you say, oh, wow, it's because I'm getting old and I can't move as much, or blah, 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 blah. It has nothing to do with how old you are. It has to do with the amount of experiences that you have that are along that circle that the body is having to take care of for survival. And as you're obviously, if you're younger, you just have less experiences out there. So what we realize in this process is that what we're missing a lot of the times is ourselves, right? The you is beyond all those experiences. The you is all the part of the circle that's inside. And we forget that we have to turn ourselves on. And how we turn ourselves on is to become present with these experiences on the outside. So if we want to heal ourselves, it's not just taking the supplement, but it's being present and aware in the moment that I'm taking this supplement, that I am in charge, that I am feeding myself, I am nourishing myself, right? Or if I'm going to go exercise, it's not just, well, I have to exercise. It's about going and exercising and being really, really present, right? And so yoga and the chiropractic work that I've learned is about reconnecting those dots. Like we've been talking about how the brain and the nervous system is connecting dots. But it's really, really important for you to find that place inside of you to connect those dots. And so when someone comes to me and they say, well, is yoga good for me? I was like, I don't know. I mean, it could be. I mean, I know what it has done for me. It's changed my life. But maybe your path is juicing, right? Maybe that's what's going to bring you joy. Maybe it's having a session with another practitioner, right? There are lots of tools out there for us, right? And so we keep chasing all these tools, hoping that that's miraculously going to fix the problem. But we forget to go inside of ourselves first and listen and find out what we want, because it could be very simple or different than your friend or your neighbor as to the path that you would like to take, right? But it's really important for us to find our path, to find ourselves first and to find our path and reconnect with that joy, and then to move out and use all these tools that are available to us. So yoga helps us to be calm and quiet. It quiets the mind. I call it turns off the shitty committee that's constantly talking to us, right? And allows us to listen to that voice inside. And we all have that voice inside. And we've probably forgotten to listen to it, or we don't know how to listen to it as much anymore, right? Because there's just so much going on. So in this process of doing yoga today, and you can sit in your chair. I mean, this isn't crazy yoga. This isn't Cirque du Soleil training camp or anything like that. This is just becoming very mindful and reconnecting with feeling what's happening in your body. Right? In the beginning, in yoga, you don't really want to feel what's happening in your body because there's pain, or there's stiffness, or there's frustration, or there's anger, or there's whatever there is there. But as you continue to practice yoga, you begin to realize that that goes away, and you start to feel the difference of the movement that you're doing, and the breathing, the calmness. You feel like you're getting your power back. We've been talking about that, taking control again and being the real participant in your own health and in your own life. And I have to work on this all the time. And I'm always seeking joy. I'm always seeking what's going to bring passion. What's fun for me to do, right? Not just what do I have to do, but what's fun for me to do, what lights me up, so that all the tools then that I use are going to be assimilated and used properly in my body. So what I like to do is just have us just kind of do a few exercises. And I want you to notice how you feel right now, and then when we're done, notice how you feel, right? And I just want you to see just a simple 5 minutes of doing something like this can really kind of shift, you, all right? So I'm going to put this down, and we're going to just do some exercises together, all right? So you can stay seated, all right? And I want you just to kind of move your chair back away from the table so you don't get yourself. Ready to come up? Okay. You're going to breathe in and out through your nose, all right? So you're going to take an inhale, and you're going to just bring those arms up. You're going to feel the arms lift up. And then as you exhale, you're just going to bring them right back down to your side. All right? Nobody's watching you, right? Everyone's got their eyes closed, so you're all safe to do it the way that you need to, right? So inhale again, lift it up, and then exhale, just bring it back down. And as you're doing this, notice what's happening in your shoulders. Inhale. And then exhale. All right. So this time we're going to inhale, bring the arms up. And then we're going to just twist. So you're going to bring your right arm just to the side, and you're going to bring your left arm across the body as if you're like going to hug yourself, right? And you're going to just create a little twist. Inhale, arms come up, and then exhale, let's just take it the other way. So 2 more times. Inhale, and then exhale. One more time. Inhale. And exhale. Good. So just open your eyes now. So who feels different? I mean, how does it feel different? Right? So there's somebody who's okay. There isn't like this, whoa, I've had this incredible experience in my life. I mean, it might be, right? It could be like, whoa. So what's happened in that moment is the instruction of being mindful of the movement and the breath together, right? You're doing something different. Like, so we don't have to think about breathing, thank goodness, right? We'd all pass out. We'd all be falling over all the time. So this autonomic nervous system is constantly kind of monitoring all that. So when you bring that into consciousness, right, that's new for us, right? So I'm like, ooh, I have to breathe in and out through my nose. I'm having to move. I'm having to do this. Well, when you're actively thinking about something like that and breathing and moving, you're quieting the mind. The shitty committee has gone to sleep for a while, right? And in that moment, you're getting instant rest. So it's that mind, that chatter, that noise, that also is depleting us of energy, constantly judging us, right? Self-judgment, just constantly going, right? It wastes our energy, right? So when you are able just to quiet that down, you're able to ignite the energy that's kind of latent inside of you and free it up, right? So you should feel calm, but you're also going to feel energized at the same time. And that just took, I mean, that was nothing, right? That's not like that's not crazy yoga, right? That's what people think yoga is about, is doing all these almost like gymnastic kinds of moves. But yoga is really about being present in the movement. It has nothing to do with the movement. It has to do with you being present in the movement, right? The movement just is a way to quiet the mind. So if you've ever thought of wanting to try and do yoga, please just do it, right? There are some classes out there that are for seniors. And I'm going to start one here at the White Building in College Hill. And what I would love is to have a whole group of seniors just come and just practice together, right? So if that's something that's interesting to you, please come and talk to me about it afterwards, because I think collectively it's really, and it's going to just be seniors, right? It's not going to be all these crazy young kids who can do all these flying things, right? So that it's just about just moving and about breathing and about being mindful, right? So that's one option, right? But don't forget, when whatever you do, bring yourself into it. Be mindful of what you're doing. Become the participant again in whatever you're doing, and it'll free up a lot of energy, and you'll feel really good. All right, thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay, what were you going to say? Nothing. Okay. So is that an aha for you, that yoga can be just more about your mind and just quieting your mind through movement and through breath? Did you know yoga is really about breathing? So, because some people say, well, I can't do yoga. I don't have a yoga body. But yoga is for every body, because it can be just as simple as going through a mindfulness exercise and breath work. So thank you very much. Terry, can you skip to the couple slides we'll do to let's discuss, just one slide back. All right, so let's discuss. We're coming right up at the end, so feel free to leave if you need to leave. We hope you hang around and get some juice samples. Do you have anybody to help you with juice samples, or that's going to be you? Okay. So you can start pouring some juice samples. And did you learn something new? Did you hear something today that was new, or did it remind you of something that you have known before but you'd kind of forgotten? Okay. What did you learn?
Well, I've learned that I learned a lot from this gal here today. Just the power of food and the power of juicing and the power of, being, really your own healer inside. I think that that's so, so important for all of us to remember, because as we grow older and we have more aches and pains, we seem to kind of refer that power out to everybody else to kind of help fix us. And we forget that we can do a lot of it inside. So I learned a lot about that from Marty today.
Anyone have a question for panelists, or an aha, something that connected in your mind and by saying it out loud can really help others? Connie has something.
I was just curious about what does your price range on your juices run?
Okay, very good question. And Songbird Juice Company is just around the corner here. I'd highly recommend going to visit, and they have other things too in addition to juice. And she also said she'd teach you how to juice for yourself, which is really awesome. We're thinking about doing some small group workshops inside her cute little shop. So if you'd like to learn more about nutrition and self-care, I think that'd be a really fun thing to do as a group. So
I'm in. I would love that. I love to empower people. I think that's really important, that we have the tools to help ourselves. And I get to supplement that through juice. So your question about the cost of one of our juices, like one 16-ounce bottle like you saw, or you'll see back here, runs, I think we just went up to we're at $9.50 for it, $9.50. So, and you can break that serving up. So many people come in and they'll just drink a juice. I will too. I'll just drink a juice. I'm spoiled. But medicinally, I also just take them like to my mother's home, and I'll keep a Harmony, for example, has turmeric, which has curcumin is the active ingredient, which is a really great immunity booster, superfood. It's credited in the Asian countries with actually being the reason why they have some of the lowest rates of dementia in the world, because of their consumption of curcumin in their average diet, their daily diet. So we try to use those herbs in our juices and be really intentional in how we're building them. But we also want them to taste really good too, so you'll see back here. But the Harmony, we brought Harmony and Gratitude, I think Harmony and Vitality, they're very root heavy. And so you can get a lot of your nourishment needs met, things you would never consume otherwise, by just drinking a little 8-ounce serving of that. So it can be split up, or I make popsicles for my kids out of them. I make smoothies. Sometimes I'll just add them to my smoothie, because I know my mom, I'll go and build her smoothie, and I know she needs something different. Maybe she's fighting a cold. She needs something more fine-tuned, but she needs fiber. Fiber is where you want the smoothies. You want to eat your stuff. No, I'm not a big proponent of anything too extreme. I like earlier, we were talking about the cigars. Everything's all right in moderation, right? Gotta have a little fun. But like even for her snacks, I'm intentional. I said I don't take sugar away. I just mix like some dark chocolate with some raw pecans, so she still gets to have some deliciousness in her life, but it doesn't look the same calorically or how our body interprets it, because when we put it in, our body has to decode everything we put in. And so when it's pulling that stuff apart, we just want to be really intentional about what we're giving it.
And what are your ranges of juice prices? Like, what's the least expensive?
We just have one. We tried to keep it really simple. I mean, so we just have the 1 16-ounce right now for $9.50, and then we sell kombucha and the lemonades, the alkaline beverages. If you're into talking about frequency foods and alkaline diets, it's pH balancing beverages. So we're, again, and some of those have some funky ingredients like blue-green algae. Like, when are you going to eat that? But we sneak it in a lemonade, so you can just drink it, and it tastes really good, and then you get a ton of vitamin B and your concentrated plant-based nutrients that you would probably never consume intentionally otherwise.
So does it sound like there's a lot to learn about juicing and nutrition? It's amazing. All right, now we've got some hands going up. Okay, I'm going to catch all three of you. Cherie.
So what should you wash your produce with? That is something I always struggle with. What do you wash it with?
Yeah. Yes.
So we have a machine that makes it acidic. So the goal really is to strip as much of that residue off. I mean, long gone it seems are the days when we're getting to grow our own without some interference. So just being mindful about what's on it. But you can get the waxes and some of that stuff off with, you can use apple cider vinegar, like a cap of that in your non-porous.
So apple cider vinegar and water.
A cap of water, yeah, and a cap of that and a basin of water. I come home and I just dump everything in the sink that's not porous. And I'll use, at home, I just use Bragg's apple cider vinegar.
Okay.
And that works.
All right, so anything that's not porous, she dumps in the sink with water and a little apple vinegar.
So that's going to be better than going, online or finding what they call a fruit or vegetable wash.
It's going to be the same thing.
Okay, so it's the same thing.
They're going to sell you vinegar.
Okay, you put a lot of thought into this, Cherie.
I do.
They're going to charge you $8.
wash my stuff with.
Okay, good question. All right.
Yeah, we got to bring it back. We got to.
Okay. George. Oh, you never know what George is going to say, so hold tight.
I'm on the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Board, but I'm getting ready to step down and get on the Animal Board because we need some help in the animal world. But I want to know, did the statutes of limitation run out on that guy that hit you with the car that you had the pain on your leg?
You know, I have wondered over the years what would have changed that day had I been bleeding or broken. I had the right of way, and the guy, he was trying to turn right, and I was going straight, and he didn't see me. And I would, other than the color of his vehicle, I wouldn't know how to find him.
Okay, so she didn't even find him. And
I feel like that was, the gift that I got that day was being able to do what I do now.
Okay.
Just your regular standard trainer, and now I have something so unique because of what happened to me. And I really care about helping people to such a degree that even if I could go after that guy, nothing brings me more joy than what I get to do now.
Okay, so even if she could go after that guy, nothing would bring her more joy than what she's doing today. However, if that happens to you, call the police and report it, get the information because that insurance could help pay for her care.
Yeah, don't be like me.
Don't be like her, don't just tell them off. Don't just give them the bird, give them both.
I have a question for one or both of the ladies on their left. You're talking about sleep and the need for sleep, but I've been reading recently that as we age, we really don't need 8, 9, 10 hours of sleep, that we're better off with 5 to 7 hours of sleep. And so I wonder what.
And that's accurate. That's accurate.
Okay, that was a good question. So it's commenting that you maybe don't need as much sleep. I also think that when people don't sleep all the night through, sometimes they make it a stressful situation, like, oh my gosh, I'm waking up, I'm not getting enough sleep. And they put a lot of pressure on themselves when it comes to that.
Yes, and you're accurate with that. As we do age, we really need 5 to 7 hours of sleep. 5 is perfect, but really the big key is uninterrupted sleep. So, making sure you're, turning off, you have some lights that will pop on when you pop up. That would be awesome if we all had that. I don't know how expensive they are, but I know there are those out there where if we stand up, the lights come on. So uninterrupted sleep is the best. Well, I guess so. Not really, because that's interrupted. But, and that going back to that point, making sure that you're drinking water, that's very good for us. If you're somebody that has to get up all through the night, that might be due to a medication. It could be something else. So again, go see your healthcare provider, find out.
Okay, so very good, because I was going to say that. Talk to your healthcare provider about sleep. You can also talk to your yoga instructor and your nutritionist and your fitness advisors and coaches, because they all will I guarantee you, they all could probably talk for an hour about how to make your sleep better. No kidding. They know a lot of things that can be really helpful. And so just remember these people, remember other people that we've had on before, or if you have questions about who else you might reach out to, give us a call anytime at our phone number or email us and we'll get you some answers. There's people in the community that can help you find solutions. So,
do some of your juices turn into alcohol? Does it get alcohol in it?
and also too, you might tell them real quick that this is live living juice. It's not like what you buy at the grocery store that is not.
That's a great question. I talked a little bit. I got off on the rabbit hole with my mom's story. It just takes so much sometimes. But the raw versus pasteurized is a really important point. When you go to a grocery store, most everything there is cooked. So when I go in, I chop the four corners that aren't cooked. But then I also just try to outsource a lot and go to farmers markets and go to locally source places. Your local farms are great. And a lot of the local farms even have places now that like little shops inside, so you can go in and get local goods while you're picking up your pasture meat. Like I get raw milk, and that was something that healed me. And people are like, but you're the juice lady. I'm like, yeah, but the raw milk actually helped my gut to get better so it could accept the nourishment from the juice, because I didn't have enough fat in my diet to even capture what I was doing. So, yeah, raw food will age. And the way we juice, it's so gentle and slow in pressure that you get 5 to 7 shelf life days out of it as we package it as a raw good. But that also means that we are not allowed to wholesale or sell at Dillon's because we'd have to cook our product. So you won't find a raw juice there unless they pressed it, which is pretty rare.
Okay, Stacia has a question. And then we'll take one more, and then we'll wrap it up for today, and then you can come up and ask questions individually.
Okay, I have a question for you too. So you were talking about shelf life. Yes, of course, it's for you. Shelf life, but what about freezing the juices? What happens when you freeze, or how long does it stay in your fridge for?
Good question, and be sure to share about how sometimes people like to put it in the freezer, and also about chewing your juice. Tell them about that.
Thank you. She remembers all these things from our conversation. I'm so flattered. Okay, chewing your juice is a good point. Digestion starts in your mouth, so the enzymes start here, and they start the digestion process. You can also absorb in your mouth. Some of these aha moments actually happened, like when I was treating my mom. I'm like, she had all these sublingual meds. So if you have sublingual meds, that means you can absorb things in your mouth, right? And I'd ask her doctor that, and he'd be like, well, I mean, she could absorb meds. Like, well, could she absorb other things like nourishment? And he's like, I don't know. Try it. And so I did, and it worked, and it was great. So I learned a lot about mouth tissue, and it's so so soft and viable in there for a reason. It's able, you can hydrate yourself like that. And freezing it. You asked freezing, sorry. Yes, you can freeze it. Dump a little out of the top, though, because it expands like anything. You'd want to take a little bit out before you put a bottle in there. But if you thaw it out, drink it same day. Drink it same day if you thaw it out that way, though, because then juice also oxidizes. That's the other thing. So hand in hand with the digestion in the mouth, everything's volatile. It's just like you take a bite of an apple or a banana and you put it on the counter and it starts to brown. That's oxygen that's starting to help that raw food break down, which is exactly what it's supposed to do. So it's going to do that also when we open up a juice bottle and we allow air to get inside. It's going to start to break down that food. So you just want to be aware. And I tell people to use their senses. Like I put a shelf life, a best by, a range on there. But if you drink it past that, sometimes it's all right if you haven't opened it and there's a vitamin C binds things and keeps things longer. So does salt. So those are two great ways. If you're going to make juice at home, use something with vitamin C in it and you'll get a longer shelf life out of it, opposed to if you juice something that is not as vitamin C dense.
So once you open it, you drink it that same day?
I would advise drinking it that same day once you open it, or not the whole, like within time. Let me go back. Taste it as it goes. So if you drink half of it and you forget about it for 4 days in there, and this goes with any juice, you come back, you were talking about it being alcohol, it's going to taste maybe a little fizzier. And you're going to taste that with your taste buds. And you're going to go, oh, maybe I shouldn't drink that juice. Because our bodies are designed to tell us what's up. And so if you taste something funky, don't drink it. But if you're, sometimes my juice carbonates and it's actually pretty good. Like on my first day, on Harmony especially, I'll drink it a little bit carbonated. Sometimes I add some vodka.
She has a cigar and vodka with her juice. Okay. Did you have something else, Connie? Okay.
You spoke about making smoothies out of it. What do you add to make the smoothies?
That's a good question because there's a big answer to that. So good blender.
I would take any of my juices if I wanted to make it into a quick smoothie. Like I have some people that like to juice fast. Some people call those cleanses, I think. But just juice, yeah. And they don't want to do it with just juice. I'll just have them add some raw, like some frozen fruit to the blender and then just pour the juice in and that bulks it up. But then you can get really tailored with your smoothies as to what you're adding in there. So Smoothie 101 is maybe another conversation, but I would definitely be honored to talk with you more about that if you want to build that. And it can be like a staple practice. So frozen bananas, frozen strawberries, frozen pineapples. Frozens tend to be more smoothie-like. Like I can get them to blend better, but it is kind of a bigger conversation. Yeah. Raw food is best, and you can freeze anything. You can go to the produce section and freeze it if you need it to be frozen, or you can buy bags of it now. So, yeah, get creative with it and design it so that you need to meet your needs. Okay. You know.
One more question back here, and then we'll get a photo of the panel, and then they're free to visit.
Explain a little bit more about the chewing. Like, does it mean holding it in your mouth longer or whatever? And then also, did you start out in College Hill by Clifton Square?
Good. So chewing your juice can be holding it in your mouth because she was talking about the tissue in your mouth, swishing it around.
Yeah, it kind of tricks your brain into thinking you're eating too. You know, like that hand-to-mouth sensation, remember that? Like we all learned, oh, it's just like a pacifier. Well, we're used to eating the same way. So it's almost like having the same sensation to break up with is the hand-to-mouth motion of pacifying to eat. And so when you're not doing that as often, and the chewing is part of that process. So when you put the food in your mouth, then you chew it, your brain remembers. And I think somebody was talking about memory earlier and how important that is. Our brain becomes dependent on that. So your body doesn't feel so hungry later if you give it the motions of chewing. Okay, good. You're welcome.
So the juice can be more satisfying by giving the motion of chewing, more filling, and taking your time with it. Okay, well, next month we're going to do the truth about downsizing and decluttering, why start now, and I hope many of you will come to our Essential Reasons to Downsize now, our event next week, and you're going to learn about Downsizers Club, which we're starting right away. But then we're also going to just talk with everybody next month about why it's a good idea to start tackling decluttering and downsizing in your house and some tips and tricks to be able to do that. And that's something that can take stress off and create more space in your home so you can move around and just enjoy life a little bit better. Thank you very much. Please thank the panel. And thank you, Marty. Thank you for the juice samples. That's very generous of you. And thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time.